Okay. Good evening, everybody. Today's date is May 25th, 2023. We're here at the Sheriff Ordinance Review Ad Hoc Committee. I am Jose Fernandez, the chair of the committee. Roll call, Brandon Diaz, Sergio Diaz, myself. Tarek Jalid is out. Clyde Flieger resigned. Albert Seda. Here. And Antonio Sanchez. He's not in this. The treasurer for today, do we have to make a motion to elect for secretary? Okay. Okay. So I'll nominate Albert Seda. Second. All in favor?
Aye. What's up?
Floor is yours.
Test, hello. So good evening, everyone. My name is Tony Lopez. I'm the deputy town manager here for the town of Miami Lakes. And just wanted to give a quick update to the committee. Graciously, this morning we had Madam Mayor Living Cava and her team. She did have a phone call with the town manager and myself to get an overview of your committee, its goals, its main purpose. So just to give you an update that she has been briefed on the main goals of this meeting and your committee.
Okay, so thank you very much, Madam Mayor. Thank you for being here today, and the floor is all yours.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for allowing me the opportunity to come and speak with you today. Let me stand to the side here so I don't have my back to people. And thank you to your chairman and to everyone for serving. So important when we have active citizenry, and planning for this transition so critically important. We're very proud that Miami-Dade County has served you with our police department these many years. I think it's been a wonderful relationship. And of course, we have our police director and chief of public safety with us here, Freddie Ramirez. And we know that we're proud of the 3 cities that have contracted with the county. Of course, as you all know, there was an amendment to the Constitution passed, and responsibilities will transfer to an independently elected sheriff come January 2025. I'm just noting that your current contract with us runs only through September 30th, 2024. So you have a somewhat shorter period of time to consider your options. Clearly, when there's a new sheriff elected, it will be dependent upon communications and coordination with the sheriff to determine how exactly policing with the sheriff's office will continue. You are free, I'm sure, as you've explored, to have your own police department, as other municipalities do. If you should determine that you want to have continuity until such time as the sheriff is in place, I think we're very amenable to an extension. Do I get affirmation from our law enforcement leadership? So obviously for a short period of time, but you know, at whatever you determine to be in the best interests of your community. So we've been with you since 2000. That's a very long and positive run. And I think it has, as I say, been very, very successful partnership. But we know no matter what else happens, that it would not be possible for county to continue to provide services to the town of Miami Lakes. So you'll be seeking alternatives. And that's one of the reasons why you're meeting to consider your options. We're here to make sure that services are as continuous as possible. We're obviously working with our police force throughout the county for the exact same purpose. We're working on communications around transition. We'll be communicating to staff that we'll do everything in our powers to assure continuity. There is a 3-year period for the county to make transition, whatever is determined exactly what that transition means. Again, that will be subject to discussion with the elected sheriff. I don't know whether that could include service to the cities, but I don't think so. I think that that has been pretty clearly taken off the plate. So I think you're clearly needing to prepare now. Really, that's all the information that I have. I'm happy to answer any questions. You know, Tomas Alcala has been my liaison to you and will continue as such. And I also want to thank Representative Barkin for being present with us here today. Obviously, he's very knowledgeable about this matter as well. And to all the residents. We're also joined by County's Office of Management and Budget Director, David Clodfelter, in case you have any. I was going to get to that. I'm just looking around. And our Chief Financial Officer, Ed Marquez, is also here, along with, again, Chief Ramirez and his team. So we're all here to answer any questions. I will not be able to stay much longer than about 15 minutes. So if you have anything to direct to me, I'm happy to answer at this time.
What concerns did you initially have this whole process of having a sheriff elected? What concerned you the most?
Well, I just think that we have an outstanding police department. There was a reason why the voters in Miami-Dade County voted to remove the elected sheriff at the time, which is back in the 1960s, and place the police department under the direction of the mayor. So there were reasons at the time. Of course, the vote was made and was passed, not specifically by our residents, but statewide. Of course, it affected us really more so than anyone. So it is what it is. We are here today with the law change. So what concerned me was really that we have had really a very good run and that we have provided outstanding service. Crime rate is down. We have really the excellent personnel and huge community trust. I guess at root, that's my main concern. You know, law enforcement depends on the trust of the people that it serves. They have to be able to report things. They have to be able to assist in solving crimes. They have to be interactive with the police. And our police department has been very active in community policing, very present in building ties of trust over the years. I'm very proud of that record. And, you know, any transition means starting from scratch. Hopefully, most of the officers will stay on board and continue that fine service. And of course, depending on the leadership of the sheriff's office. So those were really the main concerns. After that, we do have facilities that are county facilities. It makes sense to us that those facilities would be managed by a police department under our direction. Other cities and counties around the state do have that opportunity. The school system has it. State universities have it. Even some private universities have it. So we thought it made sense for us to continue patrolling, if you will, our major county facilities. So that was really at the end. You know, of course, we started with even a broader reach, but we came to in this session really talking about focusing on county facilities.
So the committee, as time has gone by, that we met a couple months, I think the two main questions the committee has is what's going to be the biggest changes coming to the county police structure? And then what was the county's initial plan with the UMSA department / sheriff department? If you can go into detail with that a little bit.
Right. So there was a recommendation made, resolution passed by the county commission to preserve policing for county facilities and also for unincorporated. This was really not clearly defined in the constitutional amendment, so it was subject to interpretation. So it was thought, you know, let's try to see as much as possible to seek continuity. So I think that was really the genesis of it. Of course, the legislature has the ability to go in and further define the relationship, which is what has happened. And so that's why we find ourselves here today. And at the end, it's really going to depend on the sheriff. You know, it's back to the voters, right? The voters will elect someone. That person will be accountable to the voters and the election process rather than subject to the appointment or removal by the mayor, whoever that person might be in the future.
Anybody have any other questions? No? Any other questions? Well, we want to thank you for taking the time off. your busy
Absolutely.
schedule to come over here and speak to us today. We
For
really
sure,
appreciate it.
for sure.
We know that you're pressed for time, so thank you very much.
Well, I'll stay a little bit. As I say, I have a little bit, and I don't know if you want to hear from Director. I know you heard from him at a recent meeting, but of course, they're all here, and our budget director as well. If you have any questions for him, for them.
Yeah, Madam Mayor, just to chime in from our conversation this morning, you are planning on launching some information about the sheriff's transition. Do you have a timetable around when some of that information will be launching, maybe on the web?
Mhm.
I think that would be very informative for the committee.
So I'm going to ask our budget director, if I may, to answer in more detail. I did just record a video for our staff on transition. It's very general because there's still a lot to be determined. We are mostly concerned about our personnel. We want to be sure they have a sense of confidence that they're not leaving. I've heard in some of the other constitutional offices, people are maybe leaving because they're insecure. They don't know what their salaries, their benefits, their work conditions will be. So of course, continuity is important. I think the 3-year time period is very helpful to tell people, you know, it's not maybe going to turn the key maybe tomorrow. Maybe there'll be an opportunity to have some discussion with the new leader. But David's been working on the transition, and we have some memos that we've been doing. So maybe David Clodfelter could address it a little more. Do you want the microphone?
Good evening. We've been providing reports for a little over a year. They're on the Office of Management and Budget website, miami-dade.gov. So we are posting those reports that we've provided. It gives basically what the resolutions that the mayor mentioned that were passed last year. Those reports provide exactly what the resolutions direct us to come back with on a monthly or bi-monthly basis. The next report will be posted not only on the OMB's website, but we're creating a separate website just for constitutional office implementation. That should be up next week. And as the mayor mentioned, the video would be placed there. So it's going to be communication twofold to the employees and to the residents. The next report that we're going to give to the board in July will basically give the latest and greatest information, what the state legislature passed, any details that are outlined in those bills, and future reporting to them on the actions that were taking place to develop the transition agreements with these 5 entities and anything else that we are doing, major changes. We're trying to build as much as we possibly can based on the state legislation in next year's budget. So last year we're not scrambling to try to get everything in and it be confusing. So we're just making it as transparent as possible and building this into our next budget. We have been making certain changes that we know over the past couple of years also.
Thank you very much. Anybody have any questions? Any questions? So our next speaker, we'll have discussion with State Representative. Thank you.
I want to thank all of you guys for inviting me here. I really appreciate it. And it's an honor to speak to you all about this bill. This is essentially an implementation of Amendment 10 that was approved by the voters in 2018. Essentially, there are 3 parts to the bill to HB 1595. The first part discusses the duties of the sheriff and basically outlines that the sheriff is responsible for policing the unincorporated parts of the county, but it also gives them the ability, it also entitles them to concurrent jurisdiction with other municipalities. It does not prohibit the county from contracting with a municipality to provide policing services. I mean, this is not a uncommon, right, arrangement. So that's the first part of it. The second part outlines a transition period between the county and the sheriff's office. And that whole transition period was brought to us by the Miami-Dade County Attorney's Office, by their lobbyists. And they said, listen, we see which way the train is headed. If the train's headed in this way, these are some ideas that we have in order to ensure a smooth transition. Among that specific transition, it outlines the county commission coming up with a budget for the transition for the anticipated sheriff's office, conducting an inventory audit of the assets and liabilities after the election, ensuring secure funding for the insurance for the police department, such things as a surety bond, empowering the elected official, which is a pretty unique duty. I mean, we're basically empowering an elected official who has not taken office yet to be able to do these things and to also open up bank accounts, which is essentially unheard of. I mean, this is someone who's technically not in office, but has been elected. And the whole purpose of this is to ensure a smooth transition for the employees, but also for any other municipalities that contract with the sheriff's office. And then also there's a whole section of that second part of the bill that specifically refers to providing continuing support services between the county and the sheriff's office in order to ensure that the personnel are going to be supported and that there's a smooth transition there. The last part of the bill doesn't directly affect us. What that doesn't directly affect you all. What that whole section deals with is municipality police budgets and the ability for a municipality police chief to appeal their budget to the governor's office, which, little known fact, is that whole area, the origination for that section of the bill comes from the power that a sheriff, a county constitutional sheriff, has the ability to appeal their budget. If they feel that they're insufficiently funded by a county sheriff has the power to appeal that budget to the governor's office and ask for more money. So essentially the governor can come back and say, hey, county, you need to fund this department more. So those are the three huge parts of the three basic parts of the bill. And we also amended the bill, and I would affectionately call this a Miami Lakes amendment, that basically ensures that any contracts between the county and a municipality are automatically assumed by the sheriff's office. So there is no doubt, there's no ambiguity there, there's no vagueness. It's guaranteeing that if there is a contract present, it is assumed by the sheriff's office. So what I would suggest to you all, if it is going to be expiring soon, is to renew it. But if when is it expiring? 2024, September 20. Yeah, I would. I mean, I'm not your attorney, but as an attorney, I would definitely err on the side of caution and suggest renewing it. But that's basically HB 1595 in a nutshell. And yeah, does anybody have any questions? Oh, okay. Just now. Okay. All right. Thank you, Madam Mayor. Thank you. Breaking news.
So the last part that you said that the contract has to be honored. Let's say 2 years after that, and it's just your opinion, does the sheriff have to renew? Is it something that, I guess my question is, we renew the contract and we stay with the county services. But then when that contract is canceled, does that force the new sheriff to have to honor it?
So I just want to clarify this. So you're saying that the contract is assumed by the sheriff.
Let's
Right.
say we renew it.
Yeah, it's assumed by the sheriff, 2-3 years pass by and it expires.
Does the sheriff have to honor another contract?
That is not in the statute and that's not anticipated. Now, and the reason that we actually stayed away from that is because there was a potential issue with impairment of contracts from a legal perspective. So that was the intention with staying away from that, because that was one version of the amendment, was creating two or three different options, if I'm not mistaken, for the sheriff in regards to the contracts. And after talking to the staff, it was their suggestion that this is the cleanest way of doing it, is say, hey, listen, you have to assume this contract. And then after the fact, once a contract expires, it's up to the sheriff if they want to, it's up to both parties if they want to continue.
I just want to interject. Lawrence Cobilla, for the record, city attorney, town attorney. I agree with the state representative, what he's saying, that you can't do that. That would be tying both the sheriff's hands and our hands, and it would go to frustrating the whole purpose of being able to fully contract. So it would be a serious impairment. But that being said, the assumption, I think, is a good safeguard for us to make sure that, and I'm very happy you added that to the legislation, to make sure that there is continuity of services.
Any other questions?
Yeah, so what were the chain of events that occurred that made you decide to put these bills forward?
Well, principally Amendment 10 in 2018 getting passed, and then the way that it was implemented, Miami-Dade and Broward were exempted from it. So they were just excluded, and they said, well, this is going to come into place, if I'm not mistaken, it's January 7th, 2025 would be the anticipated date when they're going to be enacted in Miami-Dade and Broward. So as that date was approaching, I mean, I started looking at this, and several individuals came to my attention and said, hey, representative, this is going to be a problem. I mean, this is something that is not, has not been planned out yet. And while other counties had already done it, albeit some like Volusia County have problems, but most of the other counties had already come up with a plan to do this transition. And I figured, you know what, I would just like to ensure that the will of the voters is respected when it comes to this. And this was one specific way that we can tailor the sheriff's office as opposed to other constitutional officers. Because I mean, several people came to me and said, Juan, why don't we do a transition for all the constitutional offices? Beside, for instance, tax collector, not an elected position in Miami-Dade County, not elected in Broward. And I said, well, those offices and the sheriff's office, apples and oranges. The sheriff's office, the potential future sheriff's office, you're talking about thousands of employees, all right? Millions of dollars in assets, multiple properties. You have logistical issues, you have inventory issues, you have the fact that they're interacting with the courts. You're talking about witnesses in thousands of cases. I mean, this is the kind of thing that when it comes to laying out the sheriff's office, it's something that I wanted to make sure that it is a steady and slow transition, hence also extending it to the support services to September 30th, 2028. So that was the idea there, as opposed to the way I anticipated with another bill that I have in regards to the other constitutional officers. You're talking about smaller offices, other departments, just not the same transition.
So just brainstorming here, we're just trying to paint a picture as to if we renew the contract for 3 years, and after the 3 years, the sheriff no longer decides to renew the contract, right? What would that look like for the town of Miami Lakes?
Well, I think the first reason would be why are they deciding to not renew it? Right? I mean, clearly there must be an issue on why they're deciding to not renew it. So perhaps try and head that off by extending it or guaranteeing several options in the contract. I mean, I'm not the town's attorney, but from a legal perspective, that's what I would do, and put serious guardrails in regards to preventing them getting out of it, or preventing them from the backing out of it, and guaranteeing that you guys have several options for it. Let's say you do get to the cliff, and let's say you do go over the cliff, right? And they choose to not renew it no matter what. At that point, I mean, I suppose you'd be looking at either either contracting with a neighboring municipality for police services, which is not unheard of. Broward County, I believe Southwest Ranches does it with Davie, or you would create your own police department. I mean, of course, that comes with a myriad of issues, including raising property taxes and things like that. But again, that could be avoided in the sense of either making sure that there's sufficient guardrails in place in the initial contract with the sheriff's office, or second, contracting with another municipality.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, and I think that's a very fair and very good question. And that's one of the main reasons why we are trying to get ahead of this. And one of the main purposes that we have you as a committee is we're trying to get ahead of this to try to develop this game plan moving forward in anticipation of these what ifs. So one of the things that we did just last council meeting through the town manager, we received direction from the council to begin the negotiations and discussions with the county on a potential renewal period for that contract, to at least try to, in these discussions, discuss these what ifs and to try to get ahead of these potential challenges that may occur with this transition. We are hoping that there are no challenges, and we are anticipating a very positive negotiation period. We've been partners with Miami-Dade County for a very long time with their services. They've been receptive. We also have been in discussions with the other two cities that have contracts with the county, which is Palmetto Bay and Cutler Bay, and they're also receptive on having these discussions as well. So that's an update in regards to that, and our goal is hopefully not to get there.
So typically, how long do these negotiations take?
This time, you want to have something negotiated prior to September 2024. It could take up to right before September 2024, but that's not what we want. We want to be able to have good conversations with the other municipalities that share services with Miami-Dade County, and be able to have kind of a uniform approach to how we're all going to deal with this situation. Because in reality, the other municipalities similar to us and with Miami-Dade County, we're all in the same boat. So that's why we've had conversations with the managers. We've had conversations between the attorneys. We're already, kind of kicking different agreements and ideas. And that's going to be brought back again to the council. And prior to the council, we'll discuss it also with this committee as to some of the ideas that we have. Another thing that we did, and I want to add to what the deputy town manager said, is we extended the resolution. The council found that it was important to make sure that you did not have a sunset provision, and extend it all the way to 2024. So we've got a road ahead of us to be able to make sure that we do something that's in the best interest of the town of Miami Lakes.
The sheriff can't turn down the police service to the towns, because they're the only ones that could provide it. The only other option you would have is you would start becoming your own police department. And it would be that you wouldn't agree with the price range. Let's say, I know that we charge you roughly $8 million for the service. The sheriff could come 3 years after this contract expires, say, you know what, from now I'm going to charge you $18 million. You're not going to pay that. So then they're going to have to give you that opportunity to make your choice of either paying that money, negotiating, or start the transition of your own police department. But they cannot abandon your service, because you cannot contract off of another municipality. The sheriff will be that person, just like us, until you resolve in the long term what that's going to look like. But the best thing to do is by September, before the sheriff comes in, you lock in that contract. That sheriff has to honor that until that contract expires, and you will deal with that later on, 3 years down the road. That's the best way to do it. But we're not going to leave you out in the cold like that. That's not going to happen.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah. Is there a mechanism in place, for example, sheriff's elected, he raises the price? Is there a mechanism in place that does not allow it? Thank you. Sorry, guys. Is there a mechanism in place that does not allow a sheriff to do that, double the price? Use an example. I'm sure it's not going to be that extreme. Right. But if it is, and the town or the other two contracted cities decide it's way too much money, and we decide, all right, we're going to, create our own police force, is there some sort of mechanism that will help fund that for the transition in the future, or just left on our own devices? Well, it's 18 million now. what's the interim plan, if there is a plan? If not, maybe we should propose one, because it's a political position. What if we get some knucklehead sheriff, right? I mean, I'm just being serious. What if he decides, hey, I'm gonna go this way, and this is the way it is, and we have no say? Now, I'm sure that's not gonna happen, but I'm just thinking, 5, 10, 15 years in the future. Maybe that's something you guys could consider to propose, some sort of transition funding, if we do decide to go on our own, if we're not given a choice. I guess I'm trying to look at all the possibilities, and I'm sure it's not gonna happen, but if it does, right? Because I just want to recognize first Major Ruiz. I know he's leaving us. He did an amazing job here at the town. Community policing is why Miami Lakes is so great, so safe, and we want to maintain that. So thank you very much to the board and to the mayor's office and you represent and all the representatives here. So Marilyn, do you want to say something?
To piggyback on that, and I appreciate, because that was one of my questions, right? Can the new sheriff say, I'm not going to contract with municipalities? That's not going to be part of what we do. And so it's something that we need to take into consideration, considering that whether we renew our contract or not, 3 or 4 years down the line, we may be faced with a sheriff's office that wouldn't contract with us. So that gives me a lot of peace of mind to know that they will not, just kind of leave us hung out to dry. But the financial aspects of it, there's financial aspects to create our own police force, and also financial aspects to renew a contract with the sheriff's office. Do we know in other counties, right, other sheriff's offices, what they typically do? Do they contract with municipalities? Are their prices excessive? Do we have any data that maybe you researched when you were putting together these bills?
Not to my knowledge, but I will gladly put you all in contact with the Florida Sheriff's Association. I mean, and that is an association of all the elected sheriffs. And to my knowledge, I don't think that there is any, I don't know of any situation where a sheriff turned down policing a municipality. So, I mean, I understand that it's a concern from a financial perspective for you all, but I would say to add to what the director said, I mean, I think there could very well be some sort of constitutional obligation to police if you don't have a police department. And that's something I will certainly research and speak to my staff about. But I think that
right, and that does give us peace of mind. The fact that there is an obligation that you cannot leave a municipality, without. Our concern is the cost, and at least in my opinion, as an elected official, I feel like it will always be more cost effective to contract with the sheriff's office than to start a police department from scratch, considering that we're a very small municipality and that we also, also piggyback on a lot of resources, larger units that you have, special crimes units and things of that nature that would be very difficult for us to have, in-house. So I feel like contracting in the future with the sheriff's office will probably be the direction that we go in, but at least, that statement makes me feel much more comfortable. Thank you so much.
Yeah. And listen, to add to that from a financial perspective, it's not just a specialty units that they have. I mean, if you're looking at it from a financial perspective, when you start considering pensions, retirement, hiring, training, I mean, all these different factors, assets. I mean, it clearly is, I think, in the best interest of most municipalities to contract with the county for the sheriff's service.
Absolutely. And from our perspective, our neighboring municipality, the closest municipality that we have is the city of Hialeah. The city of Hialeah has a different government structure than we do. They have a strong mayor form of government. And so their police department is run by their mayor. So at least as an elected official from Miami Lakes, I would feel much more comfortable contracting with a sheriff's office than contracting with a neighboring municipality that has that structure in place. Thank you so much.
Okay, I agree that the services that the county gives us. In fact, I was on the original committee that actually looked at your contract. I think it was 2013, somewhere like that. But sitting in this committee, I'm also thinking, and I don't know the appetite that the council has, is why not look at what our own police department would look like, at least, and then compare it. I think eventually probably the county's amount is going to be better, but we don't have that answer. Yeah, but what year was that?
2013.
Yeah, I was 10 years ago, I was in the committee. So I don't know if the appetite for the council would be at least, I don't know, do it again. And have all those answers. I don't have a problem with their services at all. But I honestly, I'm still a little nervous at the end of the day that the sheriff that comes in, and I don't want to be on this committee and then say, I said so. So at least I would like to see if we can at least let the council know. If maybe we can do a study. I don't have the answer of who, what, where, but at least have that answer before we make the decision, not the decision, but the recommendation. I mean, that's my opinion. I'm here thinking about that, and I think it's maybe time to do that again and take a look at it.
Yeah, and that's exactly, you know, the reason why we're here is to examine all those possibilities. You know, just to echo what Sergio Diaz just said, the overwhelming amount of people that I speak to in Miami Lakes are extremely happy with the services that you guys are providing. We really appreciate it. But at the same time, we don't know who's going to be in charge in a couple of years. So that's why we're here, and it's important that we examine every avenue.
And I think that's what's good about the direction to start the negotiation. That gives us some time to get, and that's why we remove the sunset provision, right? Is to give you all more time with a negotiated contract to reevaluate and study this further and study the other potential options that this committee comes up with.
I'll make a motion as in the committee to at least give the council recommendation to at least look into the study of how much it would cost for our own police department.
All those in favor? You want to discuss it?
I guess ours is just a recommendation to the council.
Yeah.
I mean, they're really the ones that you hold on it if they want to do it or not. It's up to the council.
The way that I would suggest, Tony, is for them to probably put it in form of a report and then add it. It can still be added to the June. If they want to. Yeah, if you want to put it in June, we report and then just add it as an agenda item as a report and then come to the council and present it as a committee report that can be adopted by the council.
So the plan today was, I was gonna make a motion. Each of you guys should have a copy of one of the consultants that provided the services to Pembroke Park. Maybe that's something that we can either present to the council or have the presented to the manager, and maybe under his discretion, he can start negotiating with that consulting firm just to simply conduct an analysis to see what that would look like and how much that would cost the town. You have a copy of it?
So this consulting firm was brought to us by, I'm assuming by the town, was vetted to the town's procurement department, I'm assuming? You brought it? Oh, you brought it? Oh, okay, okay. Sorry, just wanted to ask.
So, yeah, like I mentioned, that was the consultant that most recently conducted the analysis for Pembroke Park, along with another colleague who's has experience being a chief of police and a city manager as well. So the hope with the plan was to make a recommendation to the manager to basically start negotiating with this firm see if we can conduct an analysis. To see how much it would cost the town to create our own police department, right?
Yeah, so the best approach, or the recommended approach, that I would suggest to the committee is you've already made a motion to provide a report, to the council, which they will hear and act upon. In that recommendation, you can suggest that the town manager or through the council that you look at bringing in a consultant, to facilitate that discussion. I do know I do recall, I believe in 2013, it was a committee that was also comprised of residents and law enforcement that worked and put together that study. So instead of speaking generally specific to one consultant at this time, it's best to get the direction from the council and then mention that the committee would like to utilize or leverage a consultant such as to assist and facilitate that study.
So just to be clear, what was the motion? What was the motion that we had?
That would be the, I'm only thinking, maybe come to the council. Is anything council like, you give a presentation to the council? I have a question, the council unanimously voted on going ahead with the contract? Do you know? Just
It was 6-1.
6-1.
So what we're talking briefly here is your direction should not be one particular firm or anything. You can give an idea of Pembroke Park did something like this, but our procurement system is such that, you need to allow for other folks to come in and kind of have that discussion. So you shouldn't really lobby for a particular
Yeah,
firm.
Just to be clear, I don't know this particular firm.
No, I know you like the
I
idea,
just-
the concept.
There was a firm that did the most
Yeah.
recent analysis of Pembroke Park.
I'm
So
hearing you.
I just figured it would be suitable to bring them.
No, and the idea is fantastic. The idea of doing something similar to Pembroke Park is absolutely fine. And I think that's a good example of a city that did something that we want to emulate. And that's fine to say that instead of the firm.
The goal is to give us the direction to have, again, the direction from the council to start looking at a study of having our own police department and to look at all options, including having a consultant to support that study.
Thank you. Okay, so for the order of business, do we have anything you want to defer or add?
I'd like to make a motion to defer the election of secretary to next week. Yeah, when I have the whole committee present, right? Yes. Yes, I'll make the motion. For today. Yeah.
All those in favor? Aye. Moving on to adoption of minutes. So a motion to adopt the minutes? All those in favor? Any public comments?
Thank you so much. So I want to thank you guys for having this committee put together. I want to thank you for all the research that you do. I watch your meetings online. I don't always come in person, but I do watch. And I'm very proud of my appointee, Brandon Diaz, who keeps me abreast of everything that you guys are doing and all of the research that you've done. Thank you so much, Tomas, for the mayor's visit today and for the information. And thank you so much for your extensive knowledge on the subject and coming into our chambers and sharing that with us. Our police force has been excellent. We have zero complaints. Our officers are part of our Miami Lakes family. We always say that. They treat us as family, we treat them as family, and it's been a great relationship for the last 20 years. There's nothing wrong with it. We don't want to reinvent the wheel. We are super happy with what we have. Unfortunately, these conversations have to be had because of legislation that gets passed, and we're kind of forced into these conversations. But the county has served us incredibly well, and we are very happy with that. So I know that you guys have a difficult task at hand to recommend to the council, what steps are appropriate coming up. But we really, really thank you, because these are difficult jobs, and you take time out of your families and out of your work schedules to be here. So we truly appreciate what you've done. Thank you.
Chair, if I may. One thing I do want to mention is if you all are not aware, our major, Javier Ruiz, who's here, he's actually transitioning. He's served us for quite a while, and I just want to let the sheriff's committee know that he's been with us. He's going to be transitioning. We will be having an acting major taking his place, which is Lieutenant Jose Gonzalez. But I did want to take this opportunity that we're here just to say thank you, and in front of all of you, that he's going to be transitioning.
Thank you very much. You guys can hear me, right? Okay. Thank you very much. It's been an absolute pleasure serving and being home for these last 5 years, because I consider this my second home. I grew up down the street. I had family here, so Miami Lakes has been part of my life all the time. And whenever people ask me how many, I say this all the time. They ask me how many personnel I have. I always tell them I have 30,000 plus. Only 50 of them or so have sworn arrest powers, but the rest of them are all the citizens of the town of Miami Lakes. They're all part of my police force, and they're just one big family. So thank you guys so much. I'm not retiring. I'm just moving to headquarters to be part of the robbery bureau over there. So I still technically work for the town, just like I work for the whole county. So hopefully I'll try and show my face a little bit during that time period, but thank you, and I love you all, and God bless. Thank you.
Thank you again. Any other public comments? All those in favor? We have old business reviewing town documents. I think which town documents those were.
Yes. Yeah, so these are the documents that was presented to us at the last meeting. I think that Gabriela presented them to you there. The one that I kind of wanted to make a comment on was the initial documents from the previous review committee. Maybe I can ask this question to the town deputy town manager and the attorney, but from what I understand, our committee's goal is to present a plan to the town. So it's something similar to kind of like what we have here in front of us is this first 2 pages. Is that what the town's looking for us to present in terms of as a committee, as a final report? I kind of read that and read about documents. I kind of wanted to get some guidance as to that, because I believe that that's kind of what the last 2013 police committee reviewed and kind of provided to the town.
My name is.
Yeah, and I think the committee can definitely take this as guidance, as a way to format a final recommendation. There's a lot of similarities, but one of the other main issues here is, again, this discussion of the transition to the sheriff and the town's response to that. So you can absolutely follow a very similar format, and within those parameters of keeping the idea of the sheriff and your recommendations from that transition period.
Thank you. It's good on my end, unless everybody has any.
Moving on to new business, 7A, we've conducted already. 7B as well. And it says 7B again, but that's been deferred. Yeah, it's tabled to the next meeting.
I know Lee resigned. The other member. I'm sorry, my apologies. I know Fleeger resigned, but is the other member, Antonio, is he still? Okay. So we don't have any, should we fill?
Interrupt you, but does the absence rules apply to this? The absences and the vacancies rules are all the same as this committee as well as the rest of the committees?
Yes.
Okay.
The absence. No, that's all over.
Can we get some clarification on that?
Yeah, it's
The changes that every month.
no. So the way that it works is that if you have a member of your committee, it's going to be pretty small, and I think all of you are going to work very cohesively, and you're going to put hard work, and you guys are not going to have this issue. But the way it works for all the other committees, including this one, is that if you have a member that you think has, been absent for, several times, it's kind of incumbent on you to let the council know, look, this person's not showing up, and we need somebody new. We need another body here. So it's really on the committee to inform the council. Okay, at the end of the day, really in all committees, it's the council person who has the prerogative to and the responsibility and the right to appoint and to remove. So if your council member doesn't want you there, they'll remove you, and if they want you there, they'll keep you. So, and if you think there's a problem with one of them, I mean, just let the council person know. If you like, at any point in time, all of you were appointed by a council person. So an idea is, it's not going to happen here, but if it did, is just go to your liaison, Ariel's, can tell you, who the council person is that appointed the person who may be problematic or is absent, and just contact that council person, tell them, hey, we're having this issue. Can you help us out? And that's it.
Thank you. Thank you.
Next one is 7C, discussion of HB 1595 and SB 1588, which we already did. We're over to announcements. Any announcements?
So just to put it on the record, I know we had mentioned last meeting that we wanted to have the South Florida PBA at this meeting. They're not gonna be able to make it tonight, so I mentioned to Gabriela that we're gonna confirm them for the next meeting, so just wanted to put that on the record.
Anything else? So the next meeting is set for June 22nd at 6 p.m. Anything else before I close out? Meeting's adjourned at 7:06. All those in favor? Motion passes.
Okay, good to see you too. Thank you so much.
Absolutely.